Hello everyone, welcome to another series of Mind Map. Today's topic of discussion is economic planning in India. First of all, we will discuss about the history of planning in India, needs or objectives of planning, types of planning, planning in India's post-independence, and important planning and development models. So first of all, let's have a look at the history of planning in India. Economic planning became part of the Indian political system much before the introduction of the first 5 years plan. The book Planned Economy for India, written by M.Visvesvarya, is somewhat a theoretical development towards economic planning. In this book, he published his own suggestions for a 10-year plan for India. Under the plan, he proposed to double the income of the country within 10 years. There were many other pre-independence plans or proposals as well. Let's see them one by one. First is the 𝐾𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢 proposal. In 1934, the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, or 𝐾𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢, recommended the need for national planning for economic development. N.R. Sarkar, the then president of 𝐾𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢, called for a high-powered National Planning Commission to coordinate the whole process of planning so that the country could make a structural break with its past and achieve its full growth potential. Next is the Bombay Plan 1944. It was formulated by 8 leading Indian industrialists with the basic aim of economic development under a considerable amount of government interventions. The title of the plan was A Plan for Economic Development of India. The basic objectives were doubling of the output of the agricultural produce and rapid industrialization with emphasis on the development of capital goods and core industries over 15 years. The Gandhian Plan, introduced in 1944 by Shriman Narayan Agarwal with basic elements such as protectionism, nationalism, adherence to principles of non-violence and rejection of class struggle in favor of socio-economic harmony. It is known as Gandhian Plan as it was based upon the Gandhian philosophy. It rejected the concept of the human being as a rational actor always seeking to maximize material self-interest. It laid more emphasis on agriculture and small-scale industries with self-sufficient villages and industrial production. The People's Plan. It was formulated by M.N.Roy in 1945, who was then the chairman of the post-war Reconstruction Committee of the Indian Trade Union. It differed from the Bombay Plan in methodology and priorities. Its main emphasis was on agricultural and consumer goods industries through collectivization and setting up of state-owned industrialization. It also advocated the nationalization of land. And the Sarvodaya Plan. It was published in 1950 by Jayaprakash Narayan in the form of a document called Sarvodaya Plan. It aimed at economic, political, social, and overall development of the common masses. It drew its major inspiration from the Gandhian Plan. Self-reliance and almost no dependence on foreign capital and technology, self-dependent villages and decentralized participatory form of planning and economic progress was forwarded by this plan. Now let's discuss about need and objectives of planning in India. Need. Some important needs of the economic planning are to increase the rate of economic development, to eradicate unemployment, to improve and strengthen market mechanism and fair progress of the economy. And objectives. Indian planning ever since its inception has attempted to meet the following objectives of multifaceted development: securing an increase in national income, accelerating the planned rate of investment to enhance the proportion of actual investment to national income, mitigating the inequalities of income and wealth and regulating the concentration of economic power, increasing the quantum of employment for the maximum possible utilization of manpower, promoting development in agricultural, industrial, and other sectors, and striving to achieve intersectoral development, speeding up the development of relatively backward regions and promoting balanced regional development, reducing in a progressive manner incidence of poverty by providing food, work, and productivity to the people below the poverty line. Now moving on to types of planning. Indicative planning. It was adopted by India in 8th 5 years plan, which was driven by liberalization of the economy. In it, state would turn into a facilitator from that of a controller and regulator. Financial planning. In it, physical targets are set in line with the available physical resources. Mobilization and setting an expenditure pattern of financial resources is the focus in this type of planning. Centralized planning. In it, the centralized authority plans and formulates all planning activities in the country. And decentralized planning. In it, the plans are prepared and executed at the grassroots level. Now let's discuss about planning in post-independence India. After independence, the task of planning was done by Planning Commission of India. It was a non-constitutional, non-statutory body set up by a resolution of the government in 1950. However, in 2015, it was replaced by Niti Aayog. Planning Commission. Achievement, decent rate of growth, growth of infrastructure, development of basic and capital goods industries, self-sufficiency in food production, and rise of service sector. And failures, inadequate growth rate, land reforms failure, economic inequality and social injustice, unemployment, regional imbalance, and policy fatigue. Niti Aayog. The National Institute of Transforming India or Niti Aayog is a policy think tank of the Government of India. It was established in 2015 to replace the Planning Commission, which followed the top-down model. Now lastly, let's discuss about some important planning and development models. First is Harrod-Domar growth model. This model emphasizes on the importance of saving and investment in economic development in developing and underdeveloped economies. This model was developed by Roy F. Harrod in 1939 and F. C. Domar in 1946. The model implies that economic growth depends on investment and savings. There should be policies to increase savings. The investment should be used more efficiently through technological advances. P.C. Mahalanobis model. This is also known as Feldman-Mahalanobis model. It was developed independently by Soviet economist Grigory Feldman in 1928 and Indian statistician Prashanta Chandra Mahalanobis in 1953. This model became the basis of India's second five-year plan. The essence of the model is a shift in the pattern of industrial investment towards building up a domestic consumption goods sector. This model suggests that in order to reach a high standard in consumption, investment in building a capacity in the production of capital goods is firstly needed. In the long run, investments made in the country's capital goods sector will lead to an increase in the production capacity of consumer goods. Lewis growth model. This model became the guide for the development process in labor surplus countries during the 1960s and 1970s. Lewis' theory of economic development speaks of structural changes in the economy. It describes a pathway whereby a developing economy can foster the growth of a new capitalist sector, which will employ a growing share of the excess labor available from the subsistence sector. Over time, this capitalist sector can come to eclipse the subsistence sector, causing the overall economy to grow. Now it's time for the practice questions. First of all, note down the prelims question, which was asked in 2009 exam also. Question is, consider the following statements regarding Indian planning. 1. The second 5 years plan emphasized on the establishment of heavy industries. 2. The third 5 years plan introduced the concept of import substitution as a strategy for industrialization. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. Now moving on to the mains question. This question was asked in 2018 exam also. Question is, how are the principles followed by the Niti Aayog different from those followed by the erstwhile Planning Commission in India? So that's all for today. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.